I mentioned as I bring him to Isaac Hayes III to the stage, I talked about what we're not going to be doing as it relates to Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and the whatnot. So this was a last minute addition. I appreciate him responding. I sent him a text on Sunday night, like 9:00. Like, hey man, you know what I'm saying? He agreed. So we're gonna have like a 10-minute or so conversation. I know he's super busy. I'm sure he has a lot of stuff on his plate. So I want to kick it over to Isaac Hayes III. Isaac, if you just want to quickly introduce yourself, share more about your product and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Isaac Hayes III. I am a founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase was an idea that came to light in 2018 for me to create a next generation social media platform that removed the limitations of shadow banning and content suppression, but also allowed anyone to monetize their content from day one. It was a self-funded startup with my own capital until late 2020, early 2021, where I entered into equity crowdfunding and have since raised about $17 million for the platform over the last 4 years. But I think the timing of what's going on right now with the country and these platforms, it's time for a new generation of social apps to kind of fill the gaps where these other ones are now becoming more like Big Brother and the villains in the space. And so I'm just happy to be here to talk about that and what we can do, to continue to build.
Yeah. Now let's get into it. I mean, and to be clear, like we're just kind of shooting off the cuff and stuff like that. So yeah, I do want to, let's talk about Threads, right? So and then what does it mean for someone to make, conscious choices on who to support, right? And so we've seen aggressive hostile comments from the dude that purchased Twitter. We've seen aggressive hostile comments from the dude that founded Meta. My personal opinion is that you shouldn't support someone, you shouldn't use their product if they don't rock with you, and obviously if they're hostile to you as well. And so from a Goody Nation perspective, we made the decision to move off of Twitter, and I just refused to call it the other name, by the way, months ago. And then based off Zuckerberg's recent comments, again, we're moving off of Meta-related products as well. I also understand that it can be difficult for other kind of creators and people who make their money, their livelihood off of these platforms, and also people that also keep up with their family, particularly on Facebook. Right? It's difficult.
Yeah.
But I guess my first question to you is, what's your thoughts on this? These hostile environments and where do you kind of see this thing going?
Well, I think that Elon, the guy that owns Twitter, set a precedent in personalizing his energy and essence in how he runs his company by way of just injecting himself in actually the tech. So following, you get Elon's, posts, even if you don't want them, you get his posts in your feed. And so he's turned, a really solid product and a very necessary product with microblogging and citizen journalism with Twitter into something that is just totally defunct and void of any kind of, I don't know, dignity or, grace or whatever. It's just a terrible place. And then with the Meta switch, it's very unusual. It seems like, that's positioning to kind of assume that TikTok will not be around. So a lot of the discussions that were had before the Supreme Court's decision and a lot of the changes post still seems like they're posturing and positioning in the understanding that TikTok is going to either go away or it's going to be different from what it was, and they stand to benefit from those changes.
Yeah, I can definitely believe that. And by the way, I guess I didn't say this. It was not obvious for folks. Isaac is here in Atlanta. That's why he's here. So we got to have our so what's our path forward, right? And what's the importance? More importantly, like what's the importance of owning on platforms or supporting people who are supportive of us, right? I mean, that's my understanding, like why you started this again for the creators, but obviously, as a black person, we got to assume that you got our best interests at heart as well. So, what's the importance of it, and also, do you feel any kind of responsibility? Is it heavy?
Well, I mean, when it comes to the word creator, black culture is the creator. And I started to do, research and just learn things about, amazing African American inventors that had their ideas stolen. And so what it brought me to realize, which I think we all realize, that black culture is American culture and that it's probably the most valuable thing on earth because you can only get it from us in the United States of America. Um, Whatever we put that culture into, it turns into something that is $1 billion, $1 trillion corporation. So I always say, like, black culture is like water. Like, it's like you really can't hold it, but once you put it into some sort of infrastructure, it becomes something that the world just can't live without or is just drawn to. So when I say, when you put black culture inside of a tennis shoe, you get Jordans, right? Or you put black culture inside of phones, in apps, you get the Instagrams, the TikToks of the world. You put black culture inside of sports and athletics, you get the modern day NBA, NFL. And so my biggest issue with all that is we have this disproportionate relationship, this predatory, exploitive relationship between infrastructure and culture. And that bothers me because when we need these multi-billion-dollar corporations to have our back, they pivot in the same way that Meta and all of them have done. And so for me, I got tired of just having to say, okay, well, are we going to um, fight for respect or demand respect, or actually build an infrastructure that we can then fill with our culture in the same way? And it's welcome for everybody. It's, I didn't build Fanbase to be an exclusive black platform. I built it to contain black culture, but also be mindful of the fact that I'm not here to exploit our culture. I'm here to allow us to invest in it, own it, allow others to appreciate it, and then scale that into a business that we all own, and then in some way exit that company and then create generational wealth amongst the 19,000 investors that we do have for Fanbase. I feel an enormous amount of responsibility, but I still understand it's the necessity to have something. These new platforms are just imperative because now the messaging is changing. Now they're actually removing hashtags. They're making you follow people that don't align with your views, and that's not morally, sound and correct. And so I'm a person that wants to build something that everybody can use. If you disagree with what I have to say or what people have to say, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with discourse and disagreement. I'm not fine with censorship and manipulation, and I'm not cool with that.
Yeah, I think that's also part of the Atlanta responsibility as well. And I didn't say this earlier, but the rest of the country, when it comes to black tech, and again, I know folks all across the country, from a community wide perspective, they are looking at, literally, they're probably tuned in right now, or they will watch it later. They want to understand how in Atlanta we are responding to these things, right? And so they look to us essentially for leadership from a community level, from a product level as well. And this is part of the responsibility essentially of living in Atlanta. People want to move to Atlanta for various reasons and stuff like that, but that comes with a little bit of responsibility in terms of doing the right thing and making tough choices. So no, I just want to take a few more minutes of your time since I know you're super busy. Let's talk about action, right? Let's talk about action in the path forward. So what's the next step for Fanbase? To be very clear, everyone here, I'm going to make an ask for you, everyone, to sign up. And if they're, I don't know about the equity crowdfunding opportunity as well, but what can people expect on Fanbase? What's next? Talk to us about the future.
Well, I mean, we've seen a massive growth because of the instability in the market. The last couple of weeks, we've gotten over maybe 600,000 users in the last 2 weeks to join the platform. We've been, ranking pretty high on the app stores, and people have been really learning about the platform. I think the one thing that I can say is that capital, like anybody in tech that knows, any of us out here that have started a company, the importance of having capital to scale that business. And when it comes to social media platforms and tech in that space, you need large amounts of capital to really compete with the big boys. So we launched an equity crowdfunding campaign for $17 million on Start Engine. And we're a little over 7.3 million now. And so we're getting close to kind of reaching that tipping point where once you get over half, people start to really come in and take up the round. But the importance of that part of this is because it gives us the capital to compete. One of the things that I learned getting into the space was that it's not what can be built. We can build anything. It's how fast you want it done, right? Yeah. So to be competitive with platforms like Meta and Instagram and TikTok and X, they have a huge head start. They have enormous amounts of capital. We need capital to kind of compete and build product to kind of catch up to their functionality, which we can. But the one thing that they don't have is they don't have culture. They don't own the culture. We own our culture, and we can take that culture wherever we want to take it. So the ability to move and mass migrate to platforms like Fanbase, like Spill, and elevate those platforms is crucial because you can see the effect that mass migration has on the valuation of social media platforms. What happened with Blue Sky, right after the election, they got, I think, 18 million users within a 60-day period. And, they're now valued at $700 million. So they can probably go raise 70 million or XYZ. And so and I don't think Blue Sky, I always say Blue Sky is not necessarily better than Twitter, but now they have the capital to kind of catch Twitter and build better and build faster. So when I ask people to join Fanbase, I understand that we are a solid platform without a doubt, given what we've been able to raise and accomplish, but there's so much more to do. And so that type of support from the tech community, from the Black media community, from users, downloading the app and helping us elevate our message, and letting people know that there's actually a choice. I think a lot of times we get deflated and exhausted, like we have nowhere to go. We're stuck on TikTok, we're stuck on Instagram. They can treat us however they want to treat us, and so now there's a real shot to really own our culture and really direct the way that we flow it. So I do, definitely want to make sure that Fanbase is a place that all of us feel comfortable building community and utilizing, and then telling everybody to invest. And this is another thing that the investment part is important to me because it's not often that even in equity crowdfunding, this method of actually investing in a tech startup on the social media scale, really, when you compare these apps and these other platforms, these companies are worth 1.5 trillion, 300 billion, 200 billion, 90 billion. These are huge platforms, and the ability for us to create something and have equity in that. And we're still in an early stage in the sense that our valuation is not so high that there's not enough room for us to scale this to a company that is worth 10 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion. I really believe that we have the ability to do that. So that's why I tell people to invest, because I want nothing more than to be standing in a room full of 20,000 investors, 6 or 7 years from now when we go public or get acquired, and people will say, well, why are you selling? Because we just made 19,000 multimillionaires. And I want to be able to do that because then that spawns the seed of generational wealth. I don't know why there's a fire alarm going on. But that spawns the seed of generational wealth that allows us to do what we need to do.
Gotcha. Well, we'll let you get out of here. So, how can people support you? And if you got to run, that's totally cool too.
No, a pipe burst, and so they said they weren't going to cut the alarm back on, but it's okay. I can hear you though. Okay, I just don't want to be annoying.
Cool. Okay, well, yeah. So, how can people support? Right? I know we have another panel, but so how can people support? Is it become users? Is it become investors? Is it both? And how do they do so?
So definitely download the app. It's on iOS and Android. And then you can invest in Fanbase at startengine.com/Fanbase. And the minimum to invest is $399. That's extremely, important because it helps us, again, scale the platform and compete. And we're competing. We're up there with these big boy platforms. So I'm just honored to be mentioned amongst these giant platforms that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. So
Perfect. We're going to, again, as a community, we're going to start moving the Atlanta Black Tech accounts over there as well. Also, Isaac, we love to talk about maybe hosting some conversations there, and even as we go into the one on February 1st. So I'll offline with you about that and go from there. Once you be safe out there and stuff like that. So I appreciate you coming through. And again, everybody go to your app store or whatever, download Fanbase, and then visit startengine.com / is it Fanbase, Isaac? Yep, to invest $3.99, $400. I'm gonna do it tonight personally, and then let's get it, y'all. Appreciate you, good sir.